What's going on, everyone? So Zach Lavine gave us a list. He checked it twice, and he gave us his preferred destination. So he has 3 of his top preferred and then 2 other teams to kind of keep an eye on. Real quick, because this wasn't in the Fisher report, but we also got some other news that Zach Lavine doesn't want New York, which I thought was interesting, supposedly. Again, all rumors, reports. You never know until you actually get there. But supposedly he doesn't want New York. And the Toronto Raptors are interested in Zach Lavine. But there's no word if Zach Lavine would want to go to Toronto. So just 2 things to keep in mind. Also, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notification. And let's dive into it. So, as the Chicago Bulls continue to test the waters on a potential Zach Lavine trade, the star guard has the Los Angeles Lakers, Miami Heat, and Philadelphia 76ers on his list of preferred destinations. So what I want to do in this video is I want to dive into all the preferred destinations. So we'll do the 3 main ones, not counting the Lakers, because I have a Laker channel and I already did a video solely on the Lakers. So go check out that. I'll link it down in the description below. But I want to talk about Miami, the Sixers, and the 2 teams that Zach Lavine should be on alert for. Each of those teams have registered some level of interest in Lavine dating back to when the Bulls started shopping him in the offseason. Fisher also said Lavine has an eye on joining the San Antonio Spurs, and he would welcome a move to the Sacramento Kings as well. So, first off, let's dive into Miami. Again, I'm not going to cover the Lakers because I already have a full video over on my Laker channel, As It Stands Lakers, so go check that out. But Zach Lavine on the Miami Heat makes a world of sense, right? So Miami missed out on Damian Lillard. Now, I don't think that Zach Lavine is Damian Lillard, but Zach Lavine does solve a lot of the same problems that Damian Lillard would. He is a volume scorer, a guy that can apply rim pressure, a guy that can shoot the 3 ball, a guy that when he's on is about as good as it gets in this league. I mean, the guy is ridiculous when he's on. Problem is he can be very inconsistent at times, and as much as he can win you a game, he can also lose you a game. But I do think that everything that he's bad at, Miami is excellent at, and everything that Miami is bad at, I think Zach Lavine is very good at. He could be that consistent go-to scorer, that guy that can be a 3-level scorer for you, guy that you could just kind of put the ball in his hands and allow him to go to work. And you have guys like Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler who, for stars, really love to do the dirty work and are really willing to do the dirty work. So you could kind of just put Zach Lavine in a role to where he could just go get buckets. Dude, you're a bucket getter, go get a bucket. And I really do think that Zach Lavine would thrive in Miami. There are questions with Zach Lavine's attitude, right? And, would he be a fit for Heat culture? Because they're very particular about stuff like that. But if he's willing to buy in, if he's willing to come in and play whatever's role is asked of him, and he's willing to kind of buckle down and try to go win an NBA championship with the Miami Heat, I think that he makes a lot of sense for Miami. I still kind of lean towards Miami going and getting DeMar DeRozan over Zach Lavine. But also I think DeMar DeRozan ends up going to the Lakers. I do think that if you have an opportunity to get Zach Lavine, I think Miami should do it because they're pretty much locked in long term anyway. And they have the contracts to unload to go get him without really hurting the team, and then even have some nice players and pieces and stuff. And I don't think he would cost as much as Damian Lillard would have. So I think that he would be a nice option for Miami. The Sixers. So obviously the Sixers trade James Harden. They acquired some assets, some expiring salaries. Philly could easily go and trade for Zach Lavine. I don't know if Zach Lavine is the right answer, though, for Philly. Right? Like, Tyrese Maxey has really emerged and became this, 30-point-a-game guy. And I just feel like him and Zach Lavine might be counterproductive. And I think, they might kind of clash. And you might have this kind of, you go, I go thing between Zach Lavine and Tyrese Maxey. And I don't think that that's best. Also, does Maxey really take a back seat for Zach Lavine? Right? Like, where does Zach Lavine rank? He's not a top 10 player. He's not a top 15 player. I don't think he's a top 20 player. Is he a top 25? Top 30 player? Like, where does he rank on the scale of best players? Right? I think you could also make an argument that Tyrese Maxey may end up being the better player between the two. Zach Lavine, it's not like he has this incredible history of winning. He's only played 4 playoff games and hasn't won a playoff series. Like, Tyrese Maxey has more playoff experience, right? Like, I just don't think Zach Lavine is the guy that you look at and go, oh man, now Philly is that much better. Right? I don't know how much better Zach Lavine makes Philly. Philly's playing good basketball. They obviously need another star, another piece. But I think Philly would be better off just waiting and seeing what else becomes available. Or maybe even taking a flyer with, like, again, a DeMar DeRozan instead. Just because I think DeMar kind of gives you different elements that Maxey doesn't. And Zach Lavine, I think, would be kind of closer to that. But if I had to guess, if Philly can get Lavine, I think Philly will try to get Lavine. I just don't know if that's the best fit for Philly. Next up, Sacramento. Basically everything I just said about Philly, it's kind of how I feel about Sacramento, but worse. Right? Like, I think Zach Lavine in Philly, they may be able to make it work to an extent. Sacramento, I think, makes zero sense for Zach Lavine, and I think Sacramento, I don't know why they would want Zach Lavine, right? Because you have a very similar thing but better in De'Aaron Fox, right? A guy that could be a 3-level scorer, a guy that applies rim pressure, a quick, high-volume scorer, right? He's the guy. I just feel like Zach Lavine, you're trading and you're bringing in a $40 million lesser version of De'Aaron Fox, in my opinion. Right? Like, De'Aaron Fox is one of the most clutch players in the league. He's one of the best fourth quarter players in the league. I don't think Zach Lavine comes in and makes Sacramento better. Like, maybe slightly, but I think it's going to be very sort of marginal, right? I think you could even make an argument it could make Sacramento worse. He fits in the sense of, like, Sacramento's just basically trying to outscore you, right? They're kind of like the Indiana Pacers and the Sacramento Kings are very similar, right? That both teams aren't very good defensively, and both teams are just trying to drop 140 on you because you're not going to be able to beat them if they do that. And I do think Zach Lavine helps in that regard. But I just think Zach Lavine kind of becomes counterproductive. Like, I do think Sacramento, if they could go and trade for another star, I think makes sense. But it would have to be the right star, right? Because, like if you could get, and I'm just using him as an example, but if you could get, like, Kevin Durant, I think that would be a grand slam. Because Kevin Durant is so efficient. He's so effective. He doesn't need 30 shots to go get you 30 points or to go get you 40 points. He plays so well off the ball. He could allow De'Aaron Fox to be De'Aaron Fox and still thrive and still give you 20 to 30 on any given night and then still fit in next to Sabonis. And then Sabonis, you could kind of run as like a mini Jokic, and you'd have Kevin Durant on, like something like that. I think would be brilliant, right? Or even like this might be a bad example just because of the age and how he's been this year, but like Klay Thompson 5 years ago, I think Sacramento would have been terrifying, right? Like, if you could go back in time and get Klay Thompson and bring him to Sacramento, like, he would be absolutely terrifying. They need somebody that can be very good but does things different than De'Aaron Fox does, to where De'Aaron Fox can still kind of be De'Aaron Fox, but you have another guy that can kind of come in and provide a lot of what Sacramento needs, right? That's kind of my thought in that regard. I just don't think Zach Lavine. I think Zach Lavine would be a waste. And I think you would very quickly be like, oh, we shouldn't have done this. We shouldn't have made this trade. But last up, San Antonio. So I don't know why San Antonio or Zach Lavine would want each other. right? Like, one, wouldn't Zach Lavine want to go to a contender? He's 28, right? And San Antonio, I don't think that they would want him. I mean, so based on the report, it's because of Zach Lavine and Pop's relationship. They built like a relationship when Pop was the coach of the Olympics back in, what was it, 2012 or whatever. And they kind of built that rapport. And so Zach Lavine has kind of always wanted to play for Pop, which is based on the report said. I don't know why San Antonio would want Zach Lavine, right? Like, okay, beyond Zach Lavine should probably go to a contender. If Zach Lavine was like 24, 25, then I would completely get it. I have like him and Victor Wembanyama, right? They could kind of grow together, they could kind of build together, and in, a handful of years, they would be title contenders. But now it's like, if he went to San Antonio, by the time San Antonio is anything close to a contender, he's probably 32, 33 maybe, because he's 28 now. You got to figure it's going to be at least 3 to 5 years before San Antonio is like a legit, like ready to win NBA championships, right? Like this year, they're terrible. Next year, they'll probably be kind of decent. The following year, maybe they're a playoff team or a play-in team. And then the fourth year, maybe they're ready to kind of start hitting their stride. And then the fifth year, okay, here they are, right? So at that point, Zach Lavine's 33, right? Maybe 34. I don't think that makes sense. Like his contract would be up by the time San Antonio is good enough to do anything. And then also from a San Antonio perspective, you basically have younger versions of this, or what you hope to be younger versions, and they don't really like, they don't even look for Victor. Like, if anything, they're hurting Victor. Like, you have, Devin Vassell. Like, that guy does everything he can, but not to give the ball to Victor Wembanyama. And same thing with, like, Keldon Johnson, right? So, like, you already have concerns with, like, your forwards and guards, and you're going to add in a Zach Lavine that's basically going to do the same thing, and he's going to be coming to San Antonio and probably think, okay, this is my team, right? Like, I'm the best player type thing, and like, I don't know, I just feel like you'd be getting a, like, older version of, like, Vassell, right? Like, like, it's Vassell all grown up. I don't think that would be the best approach for San Antonio. So I don't see him going to San Antonio. Personally, I think Miami makes the most sense for him. I genuinely do. I think Miami would be the best destination for him to go to. I just don't know if Miami would want him. The Lakers, I think, would make a lot of sense for him. I think Philly, to an extent, would. I just would have my concerns with him and Maxey, right? And how do they fit? But if they work out, I think Philly could be pretty solid. The problem is with Zach Lavine, and the problem that I have is that he's better than most, but he's not like a guy that can shake up a franchise, right? Like, he's not a move where, like, if he goes to, like, Miami or he goes to the Lakers, right? Like, he definitely makes those teams better, and he solves a lot of issues. And, like, I do think if he goes to Miami or the Lakers, I do think either of those teams now become one of the best, maybe even potentially the best team. But he's not like a guaranteed lock, right? Like if Kevin Durant went to the Lakers, I'm sorry, the Lakers just won the NBA championship as long as everyone's healthy. If Kevin Durant went to Miami, I'm sorry, Miami's winning the NBA championship. If Kevin Durant went to, Philly, I'm sorry, they're probably winning the NBA championship, right? Like, depending on where a guy like Kevin Durant goes, they're probably winning the NBA championship. But somebody like Zach Lavine, yes, will make the team better, but how much better is the question, right? Like, I think for the Lakers, I think he makes them a lot better because he solves a lot of their problems. Miami, I think he makes them a lot better because he solves a lot of their problems. But I don't think he makes them so much better that you're like, okay, nobody's beating Miami. Nobody's beating the Lakers. I think they would still be very beatable. I just think it would make things a lot tougher. Does that make sense? But Anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Where do you want to see Zach Lavine end up? Like, if you could pick what team, is it one of the teams on the list? Is it another team? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it, so let me know down in the comments below.